What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, bouncing back and forth there between the Bitcoin market cap chart and the Bitcoin price chart. As today, we do have a relatively green day here in the cryptocurrency market, with it being slightly up. Same goes for the stock market as we are in pre-market trading. It's Monday morning. Of course, there's still like 2 hours until the market's open. Things could change throughout the day, but as of right now, while I'm recording, things are green. But I wanted to talk about a particular topic in the cryptocurrency market when it comes to Bitcoin and the bottom of the market coming in right now. It is no secret out there that there's a lot of people who are looking for $12,000 to $14,000 for Bitcoin, and that we have yet to see the bottom come in because not enough time has elapsed since the top of Bitcoin has come in. For example, when we look back to 2018 and we look back to 2014 to see how much time actually elapsed between the top coming in and the bottom on both of these major falls for Bitcoin, we can apply that same amount of time to where we are at currently with Bitcoin right now to see that not enough time has elapsed since the actual peak came in for the bottom to come in. And the same goes when we apply 2018 to current times as well, that not enough time has elapsed. So in 2017, the top of Bitcoin came in December, and then by December of 2018, we had the bottom. So 1 full year had elapsed. Back in 2013, the top came in November, and then by January of 2015, the bottom came in. So in this bear, it was about 1 year and 2 months. In this bear, it was about 1 year exactly. And if we apply those to where we are currently right now, we can see that there would still be more time elapsing, and that really, based on 2018's model, let me take that off just for a second. 2018's model, we should be starting capitulation right now, heading down even lower to bottom out there in November. And then with 2014 and 15's model, that gets us out there till December. So you'll see a lot of people applying the same ideology that enough time has to elapse. Now, I've been in this game long enough to know that one of the nearly impossible things to predict is time. But essentially now you've entered this time window of where the bottom can come in based off this ideology. But in this video, I actually wanted to dive into the specifics of these moments that led to these capitulations to see if we have the similar conditions going on with Bitcoin right now to give us this final flush that people are looking for, to get that final 40% fall from where we're at currently right now. Which, if you got a 40% fall from where price is right now as I'm recording at 19,500, that gets you right there really close to about 12,000. So in order to make these comparisons, you would think we would have to assume that this moment right here would be very similar to this moment occurring right in here and this moment occurring right in here for Bitcoin, right prior to the capitulation coming in and the final wrap up and the end of the bear. Because it was these falls with those fractals overlaid that took you down into that $12,000 price level. The final moment, the ending, 1 year had passed, 1 year and 2 months had passed. We got into the time window, boom, we went and fell, and that was it. So I thought in this video, let's go ahead and look around and say, can we make an argument to say that this moment right here is similar to this moment or similar to this moment? I'll take these arrows off the screen. And the first thing we can do is just some basic measuring to say, are we at a similar location currently as we were in these past ones, right? So we can look at the previous all-time high back in 2013 and see how deep we actually went in here for this bottom. This was 72% off of the all-time high. We can look over here in 2018 to see that this was 70% off of the all-time high. And currently right now with where Bitcoin is at this moment, it is actually 73% off of the all-time high based on the actual market cap of Bitcoin. So 73%. Could we say that is similar and within range? I would say so, right? 70, 72, 73. We're really just kind of nitpicking if we're saying it's got to be within 1 or 2%. I'd say it's relatively close. So I think it's a pretty fair argument to say that percentage-wise, it's close. Now, that is based on the market cap. If we go based on the actual price chart of Bitcoin, we can see in 2014, it was actually 76%. In 2018, it was 71%. And here in 2022, it's 74%. So the numbers jump around a little bit, but still, it puts Bitcoin right in the middle. At 74%, you got 71, you got 76. That's all pretty close, I would say. So I'd give the check mark in the favor of saying there's similarities there. What is something else that's in Bitcoin's favor for that circumstance? Well, just like we were just talking about, time. We're like right in the actual time window right in here for that to be the case. We could see that back in 2018. Here it is. I've got it in red. The red fractal is 2018. Here we are. Boom. Then we go into capitulation in this moment. So we're in that time window of that capitulation. Then we look at 2014 right in here, which is purple. And we can see we're also right there into that time window at the same price level. So based on time and based on percentages, it's reasonable to say that there's similarities. However, if you go any deeper than that, beyond just time and percentage, suddenly it looks nothing like either of them. But I will acknowledge the logic of thinking behind this, that from a percentage standpoint and from a time standpoint, we have not met the conditions of the last two major falls that we saw, both in 2014 and 2018, as we entered into this time window. After having this big of a percentage of a fall, there was still another 40% fall that came after that. And right now, based on the last two falls from 2014 and 2018, we've officially entered into the window of when capitulation occurred in those two time periods. And that leaves you a bottom somewhere between November 7th, November 8th, and over here to December 22nd, 23rd, 24th. So you have about this month and a half window in here up until nearly the end of the year where the bottom comes in based off of the last two major falls that we had. But I'm going to start showing some things about the conditions that are very different than both of those time periods. If a lot of you remember back in last year, earlier this year, we're talking a lot saying, hey, look, the top of Bitcoin's coming in. And then we saw a deep bear market fractal emerging from the actual literal top of Bitcoin up in here. That why are we actually producing this bear market fractal from the literal top? Back on October 16th of last year, I was presenting my case on why I thought the top of Bitcoin was coming in. That I think a lot of people were still in belief that we were going to be copying what we did back in 2017 and that we were going to go on a big majestic bull run and go significantly higher. But that my argument was that we actually weren't, that we were right there near the peak, and that even on chain, it had already shown that the whales had already dumped all of their Bitcoin earlier in the year, and that we were very close to actually peaking for Bitcoin. Even there in November, taking polls to gauge sentiment on what people believed, even presenting all those cases, what did people believe? Believed it was nonsense still. 2/3 of people believing we're going to $100,000, only 1/3 believing that we're going to $20,000. So in this moment right here, people were drawing conclusions based off of the past bull markets that we had had for Bitcoin that there was no way the top could be coming in because we've gone significantly higher in past bull markets. So drawing from the past two to say we must go up higher, but we know that drawing conclusions from saying, hey, we have to go much higher because of these didn't work. But what we're doing here now, when we're saying, hey, we haven't elapsed enough time, we're still drawing the same conclusion, saying, hey, we have to do exactly what we did because that's what we've done before, even though the log scale fib models, the extended cycle theory models, rainbow models, past fractal models for the bull run did not work. We're still saying we have to do the exact same thing because there's something blatantly obvious on this chart that is very different from 2018 and 2014. And really, that's just the top. The top is totally different than both of these, right? In both of these, you have a parabolic blow off top. And then in this one, you have a rolling top. You have essentially almost a double top happening in here. There is no euphoric blow off top that happens in here. And then when price crashes 70% and bounces, or a euphoric blow off top with a 70% crash and then a bounce, this is drawn out. This is very different looking in here. And we have to take that into consideration. I would think that there's definitely a different top that has come in here. And we'll dive into that here in just a minute. But again, what we're trying to do here is to say, are there similarities between this moment right here and this moment right here and this moment from 2014 to say there's similarities or are there more differences happening in here? The first thing we can do is we can actually just throw on the moving average to see that in 2014 and in 2018, when the capitulation moment came, it was actually breaking through the 100-week moving average in both circumstances. Big fat crack through the 100-week, big fat crack through the 100-week, but we're not sitting on top of the 100-week right now. We're actually sitting significantly down below it. That's interesting. Let's throw the 50-week on there too, just for fun. Again, we'll address this here in a minute, but one thing we can also see here too is we actually came in and hit the 50-week moving average right in here before the top came in. And we never did that in 2017. By the time we hit this 50-week moving average right in here, we were already deep within the bear market for Bitcoin. And the same story goes over here for Bitcoin back in 2014. By the time we got to that 50-week moving average, we were already deep within the bear market for Bitcoin at that point. Yet here we are hitting it right here when the top comes in just a little bit later. But heading back over here to talking about the price action with where we're at and with the 100-week moving average, we could see that the capitulation moment of 2018 and the capitulation moment of 2014 both were breaking through the 100-week moving average. And we can see how deep down below the 100-week moving average we ended up going in both of these circumstances. Right in here, we ended up going 57% in 2014. In 2018, we ended up going about 45%. And here we are in 2022, and we have gone 51%. So 51%, 45%, 57%. Are we within range of all of these, of the depths below the 100-week moving average? I would say yes. It's a wider range, right? 45 to 57. What's the middle point of 45 and 57? It's 51, which is right where we're at right now. But are there any other differences? Well, we can look at the relative strength profile of this moment back in 2018 to see that when we were here, comparing it to being right here, very different in here. We could see that Bitcoin had come off of its highs in here and was actually just hovering just above 40 for a long time, for almost a year, not 11 months at this point. And then finally it cracked through and went oversold. And when it went oversold, it went right through the 100-week moving average and capitulated. And then we look over here to this current time period right now, which we should be seeing, hey, is our relative strength holding up? Are we getting ready to crack through and go into weekly oversold RSI? We could see we already did that. We've already gotten through here, which we were holding these levels right in here. So let's draw a box over here at this point, right before we went through the 100-week moving average to see we're still holding this area right in here before getting through that 100-week moving average. Then we broke through. And just like right now, we broke through and now we're sitting down here. So does the RSI profile match that of this time period? No. It matches the profile of us already breaking through the 100-week moving average and going oversold. So this does not match this when it comes to the 100-week moving average and when it comes to the RSI. Another thing, of course, I've shown on this channel as well is one thing we can see is that prior to actually breaking through the 100-week moving average, it was kind of stuck here in between the 50-week moving average and the 100-week moving average and then capitulated through, which is what we also saw happen in here, stuck between both of them and then finally capitulated its way through. And that by the time this had already happened, the bottom was already in. So we don't have any circumstances from these past bear markets to look at them and say, hey, after we're stuck between the 50-week and the 100-week and then we fall and crack through, do we fall again? Right? We get stuck in between the two and then we fall. Do we fall again? No. Every time we get stuck between the two, we fall and then we've been done. And then by the time that these crossed, the bottom was already in. So neither of these time periods show that once this 50-week and this 100-week cross each other, that we fall again. In each circumstance, the falls are already all done. So when we're trying to compare this moment right here to right here, we see a lot of differences when it comes to the moving averages, the depths of how deep it's gone below those moving averages, and with the relative strength profiles, that they're not the same. And that each time we were here between the 50-week and the 100-week back in 2014 and in 2018 and here in 2022, there was actually a moment in time that we actually had already touched the 50-week moving average before actually getting in there to go into this moment in each circumstance. And so currently, when you're looking at it from the relative strength index, when you're looking at it from breaking through the 50-week, then breaking through the 100-week, and then getting between 46 to 57% and getting 51%, it suddenly starts to make this moment right here and right here seem like it actually occurred right there. When you have these crosses already occurring in here, that's what the circumstance was. That your fall actually took place right here where this cross was occurring at, right in here. Here's where the fall took place, right in here, here's where the fall took place. 40 RSI on the weekly time frame, 40 RSI on the weekly time frame. Cracks through, cracks through. Now, is there anything that could validate that? Is there anything we can look at in here compared to here to say that, yes, we are down, what is it, 71, 72, 73%, just like we were in this phase, just like we were in this phase. But is there anything we can look at up in here to say this moment actually seems way more similar to this moment? And for those who have been with the channel for quite a while, you may remember the topping that we had happen in here was incredibly similar to this moment right in here. So what are we arguing? We're arguing that this phase right in here that breaks through the 50-week moving average to bounce around in between the 100 and the 50 and then breaks, we're arguing that as we break through this 50-week, that's like this moment happening right here, right? So we're looking back at April of 2018, and we're saying April to May of 2018 as we break through here, that this moment is the same as this moment happening right in here. So arguing that this phase right here is the same to this phase right in here. If we're going to be shifting this whole moment prior to capitulation to way up in here and saying that this phase is not down here, but saying that this phase is actually way up in here, well, then we have to argue that these two are the same. That this moment as we break through, is the moment prior to capitulation, the moment prior to capitulation. And many of you will remember very clearly how many times on this channel we have gone through that to show that this was precisely the same annoying fractal that kept emerging right here from the absolute literal top of Bitcoin. And we probably looked at this thing 100 times in here to show how it was the same fractal that emerged right here from the very literal top, that this was the same thing right here off the top, that phase that did come deep within here. That was a moment prior to it actually going on to capitulate. Another thing to take notice of here is that when you flip that onto the daily time frame to see what happened here in that moment, is that here we are. And, this is obviously a sore point for me right here, right? I fully believed we were in a bear market for Bitcoin, but definitely expected the price to come up higher to right around 55,000 before it would turn over on itself. It's a humbling point for me in this market. I did get the top right back here in March of 2021. I got the bottom right here in June and July of 2021. And I even got the top right here in November of 2021. But this moment right in here certainly humbled me. But what was similar about this moment right in here to this moment right in here, even though we didn't reach up nearly as high and go into a full retracement in here, what was similar about the moments that happened in here? And again, we can go back to those moving averages once again to show that as that got right there, that was actually pulling back to the 200-day moving average. And as we can see here in this moment right here in this time, that's exactly what we did in here. We went right back to the 200-day moving average and then capitulated. 200-day moving average and then capitulated. So we didn't reach up as high to get into retracement, but this moment right in here, both of them were back to that 200-day moving average once again before the capitulation actually began. So if we're going to argue instead of saying that, we've fallen the correct percentage and we need to fall down further as if we were down in here, what are the things that we see that would create the argument to say, no, it was actually right here because we were next to the cross where the 50 and the 100-week moving average had crossed, just like we were back in 2018. Once we broke through the 100-week moving average, once we broke through it, we went on to capitulate to find its bottom. We had actually already hit the 50-week moving average prior to that. And for some reason, we didn't have this like parabolic blow off top happening from the bottom. What kind of argument can you possibly make to say, this phase right here was actually from a deeper within a bearish time period for Bitcoin already? And we can see that as we apply that the literal top came in with an actual bearish fractal already deep within a bear, that we had already fallen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. We already fallen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. And then we were in this phase in here right from the actual literal top of Bitcoin, and that this is not your parabolic blow off top moment that's happening in here to measure this as if this is your parabolic blow off top. But this is a bear market fractal showing that, yes, the price action did set a new all-time high, but it was already bearish. It was already super bearish. And while not reaching back up as high as a retracement should, it went back to hit that 200-day moving average, just as it did back in here, before then going on to capitulate. And that capitulation right in there was a fall of 63%. And the fall here, after hitting that 200-day moving average, was, boom, 63%. So we have the fall coming off of that location of an equal percentage. So if we're over here trying to create the argument to say that this phase of Bitcoin down in here before it capitulates down, if we're trying to argue that it's actually happening right here, these are a lot of the arguments to go along with it, rather than saying, hey, yes, it's true. We are the same percentage off of here. We're 74% off of the all-time high. Right in here for Bitcoin, you were 70% off of the all-time high. Very similar from a time perspective from this exact moment to right here. Very similar time, right? We just crossed the time threshold of how long this took, right? This was like 11 months. Right now, we just crossed that time period here in October because our peak came in there in November of last year. We're now at 11 months. We're within the time window for a capitulation to happen. But once you look over here to see what was going on with Bitcoin during this time period, things are very different when we're not just looking at percentages, but when we're looking at the actual behavior of Bitcoin in here, what was happening in regards to the top, right? Is this a parabolic blow off top that's happening here for Bitcoin? No, it's not. Are we about to capitulate through the 100-week moving average way down here like we were in this phase? No, that actually happened way up here. And it actually already fell 51% from that price level, which is right here. It had fallen 46%. We've already done that from the 100-week moving average. And look where these two are crossing. That's where the crosses actually occurred in here. And so since we didn't have this parabolic blow off top, and we have this weird kind of rounded top structure happening in here, is there anything happening in here that mimics that of what was going on right here, right? Can we actually say this is occurring right here? Did the moment prior to that lead into this moment? And yes, we had the exact same price action and price behavior happen in here that led to that moment. And both of them went on to hit their 200-day moving averages in here. And both of them fell 63%. And both of them capitulated through their 100-week moving average. Both of them did, along with their crosses of their 50 and their 100 weeks, with their crosses of their 50 and their 100 weeks. So when you look at it from this perspective of how the price action has behaved between 2018 and 2022, the only arguments you have to say that this moment is the same as this moment is if we say it's been 11 months and if we say percentages. But if we say price behavior and price action behavior, there's nothing similar between this moment and this moment because we were going into a blow off top. But the price action and the price behavior and even the relative strength profile of Bitcoin in here was not the same. It shows that the parabolic phase and the exciting phase happened back when laser eyes, diamond hands, and Wall Street bets was all going on. That the exciting phase of the relative strength profile shows that it had actually already occurred. We were already deep within the depths of a bear market in here by the time we had gotten down in here, that we were already within a bear. And we can even see that in here, how we were able to maintain such strong bullish RSI here in 2017. Then finally, once it lost it and fell down into the 40s, the bear had already set in. And that was the case here for us in 2021. And then if we go back and talk about the post that I showed from October 16th of last year, anticipating that the top of Bitcoin would come in by discussing Bitcoin super cycles that happen in here. And that while many people were applying this fractal right here, thinking that's where we were heading here for Bitcoin, my argument was that no, we have this all wrong. We're actually at the very ending phase of a super cycle, and that what took place there in 2018 was actually the exact same pit stop that had occurred for Bitcoin back in 2013. And that all the consolidation that took place in here for Bitcoin in 2018 through 2020 was the exact same fractal of the pit stop that happened in 2013, and that we were going off for our ending. But as we can see, our topping got very unique and very odd. But when we head over here and we start applying it to say, well, if this was the euphoria point of the market right in here, and we just didn't reach as high, but if we go from time and say Wall Street bets, laser eyes, diamond hands, all of those things occurring, even our ending capitulation fractal in here, it mirrors that of what happens at the very end. That time has elapsed. It's just that they knew how to dump all the Bitcoin on retail, like we saw with the whale wallets all dumping into this moment. But what was actually happening in here? Wall Street bets, laser eyes, and diamond hands. Retail was buying the absolute literal top of the market like they always do. And they did massive distribution on retail in here. And then at this precise moment, right here on April 14th, this is where Coinbase IPO'd at the peak of the market euphoria. And while structure changed in here, we can see that our ending phase in here has played out precisely as it did back in 2014. So time actually has already elapsed. We actually have this fractal emerging right here from the peak top right in here from one within the depths of Bitcoin's bear market before it capitulates, which is this moment right here. And then at the same time, from deep within the depths of this bear market, that's exactly how we have finished off Bitcoin in here. And that if we want to argue that this moment and this moment are the same as this moment, there's way too many things pointing to it saying that it's actually already passed us by and it was back here. So while yes, I totally see the argument, I understand it of why there's the anticipation that one more capitulation must come down and why there is a time prediction on it of between November 8th and December 24th. It's because it's the exact same amount of time that 2014 and 2018 took when we go directly off of the peak. But what we also know is that our current peak was unlike anything of those two in that manner, where we had a parabolic top, but that we notice that the peak that comes off of Bitcoin here in this circumstance is the exact same peak that came in here and that came back in here. And that both of these exhibit behaviors of what capitulations that have already occurred have done by breaking through the 100 week, going into oversold RSI, having bear market fractals right off the absolute top. And then as we showed back there in 2018 and here in 2022, as it fell off of that 200-day moving average, it fell 63%, which is exactly what we've done in here, 63%. So which one's right? There's one thing that's for certain. No matter what, this time will be different. If this price level holds, it will be the most shallow Bitcoin bear we've ever seen. If this price level does not hold, and if the price does go lower, it will be the first time we have witnessed where these indicators all lined up and that where Bitcoin went into oversold RSI on the weekly time frame and then went even deeper. It has never happened before. It will be the first time. If Bitcoin also goes lower, it'll totally break away from fractals, whether it's 2018's or 2014's. If we go lower, it'll break both of them. But at the same time, if it also holds, it will be the most shallow Bitcoin bear market in history. So which one is it? We had the smallest Bitcoin bull run in history. Does it mean we have the smallest bear in history? One could argue that. One could also argue Bitcoin is so weak that this is all it could do. That Bitcoin can continue to set these monster bull runs, but yet these bull runs just get smaller and smaller and smaller. However, the bear markets stay the exact same size. And that if we're going to keep doing these bear markets of the exact same size, well, then each bull market gets smaller, but each bear market stays the same size. Does that mean Bitcoin's actually weaker? 2017 was like 1,600% or 1,600% above the 2013 all-time high. 2021, 2022, it was only 250% above the 2018 high. If we're still going to do 85% crashes, even with these diminishing returns, what does that say about Bitcoin? Is that good or is that bad? I couldn't imagine it being good. But if you're having diminished sized bull runs, is there the potential for diminished sized corrections? I would think so. But I would think if you still do an 84% crash after having a super diminished bull run, it probably paints a different picture for Bitcoin in general. That what's the next one? The fact that this was only 253% compared to 1,600 prior. That would mean that if you're going to have the same kind of ratio for what you would set above the next new all-time high, how much higher would you go? 250% versus 1,600%. What is the ratio for your next new all-time high? Does that mean you only go 30% above the next all-time high and then do another 85% crash? That's the problem with the diminishing returns and then also having bear markets be the exact same size. We know that these are different sizes. If we're going to have 85% still continue to happen, what does it mean for the next bull? Does it mean we go 1,600%, 250%, and then you go 4,000% the next time? That's not the same logic, right? The logic starts to change. So it's a lot to think about, right? But like I said, no matter what, we're going to end up with something completely different here. Something that is going to be different from this one and this one will automatically happen here no matter what. Whether this low holds or even if we do go back down here to this, 84% fall, if you get 12K or whatnot. If this holds, it matches everything technically from the past, whether it's RSI, moving averages, depths of falls in regards to the 200-day moving average, all these things line up. But if we go deeper, it breaks all of these things. Every single time that these crossed, we were already at the bottom. Every time we broke through the 100-week moving average, boom, that was the bottom. If we go even another big leg down, we can't look at either of these anymore and say that anything in here regards to price behavior matters anymore moving forward with Bitcoin in regards to looking at it from a bear market perspective. We will still have time on our side. We would still have the percentage of the fall be on our side. But when it comes to the actual behavior of Bitcoin, it will be totally different. So no matter what happens, we're going to get something different. And I don't think people are paying attention to the fact this was very different. This is not the same as these previous peaks. This is very different in here. We all know that. We can just look at it visually without having to do anything by microscopically looking at fractal behavior and bear market behavior to recognize that it's different. Just even on the bigger time scale, we could see this is so different than these two in here. And so we're having to kind of think about it from that manner here as we go into this moment right in here. If this is so different, what makes us believe that this is going to be the same percentage in time as these two? That's my thought process on it, but it's up to everybody to decide what matters more. And we all have to make our own bets on which one we think is more important. For some people, it's going to be what the percentage pull down is going to be, and does it match exactly what the last bear markets have done and has time elapsed? For me, it's going to be more about price behavior. And in the end, everyone has to make their best guess. Do you think this time period right here is the same as this time period right here and this time period right here as those who are believing 12 to 14K? Or do you believe that time period actually happened back here? And that is the argument that I have attempted to present today. But to each their own. I wish you the best of luck. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Happy New Week. I hope that you're doing well. Quick little update. I usually save this for Fridays, but, as we've been following with my fish tank on light, tight, and bright Friday afternoon or Friday end of video updates, I've been sharing that I've got a pregnant guppy. She just wouldn't have any of her baby fish. She had really been isolating herself, trying to get away from the male guppy in the fish tank. And while, I've seen fish do this before, so I was kind of a little bit worried, but I knew she was also very pregnant at the exact same time. And unfortunately, over the weekend, she did actually pass away, but I did catch it happen within a couple hours of it actually occurring. So I then became Dr. Backer and did perform surgery on her after she had already passed away and removed all of the eggs from her, put them in the separate fish tank. Nothing happened with the eggs. I was quite certain we lost all of the baby fry in there. And then as I woke up the next morning, I woke up to a pleasant surprise. Some of them were able to break out, and we do actually have what I thought was 7. We actually have 8. So we did lose mom, but we did inherit 8 baby fish that are still there this morning. I've just checked on them a couple of minutes ago. They're all there. We now have 8 baby guppies. So a little bit of tragedy mixed in there with a little bit of a miracle. The journey of raising a bunch of baby fry guppies has begun. Also, like I mentioned last week, I launched my premium newsletter, so I'm super excited about this. If you're interested in reading write-ups that I have to do about the cryptocurrency market or the broader markets, is a great place for me to try to express my content and my thoughts in a different manner. In addition, I do record audio voiceovers of this, so I do narrate the entire newsletter as well. So if you'd like to sign up for my premium newsletter, you can check it out by visiting blockchainbacker.substack.com. There is also a link in the description of this video. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice, and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick me up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.